Okay, so I don't really do these all that often, but I was scrolling through Reddit and I happened across this post right here by GOW Buzer. Sorry if I said your name wrong. But yeah, he goes over to say that you should level up Zaratras since he is broken on the new stage for the raid boss, and to level 90 your units. So if you don't know, the JP and Korean versions of the game just introduced Belmos, I think is his name, Belmos, who is the new raid boss that's kind of like the new last tier of getting your units up. He is going to get your units to level 90. So it used to be Howlix was the last demon, now Belmos is going to be the last demon, and apparently they're changing Zaratras on the JP and Korean versions of the game. If we go over to Zaratras on here, we can actually see that his secondary skill is actually a ranged skill, which would make him not that good for it. But on JP, they have changed this skill to a melee skill, which honestly, it makes sense because he literally just zooms around and hits them either way. So it really doesn't make any sense on why it was a ranged skill to begin with. So that's really nice that they're actually changing that, because it gives Zaratras honestly a lot of usability in this case. Because if you don't know, Zaratras is actually a really good PvE unit, mainly because of his passive, which says if a critical strike does not occur from a skill used against an enemy, the hero's damage dealt is increased by an amount equal to crit chance. So basically what that means is if you're playing against someone PvE related, because it doesn't work in PvP, if you're playing against some sort of final boss stage or some sort of demon or anybody PvP related that does they've got really high crit resistance where it's hard to crit on them, Zaratras is pretty much almost guaranteed to crit. Or not crit, but he's guaranteed to do big damage because he's not going to crit. So you basically build up your Zaratras, and then he can do insane damage because he doesn't crit, because obviously the monster is designed to not let you crit. So it's really, really good in that situation. So honestly, this is a really huge thing, because he even linked, someone in the comments actually linked this video right here. You guys can kind of look over it for a second. I'll leave the link in the description for this. A bronze card does 60k damage, and then as we get to the next phase, he has a gold Zaratras card and a gold ulti. The gold Zaratras card right here is the charge skill, if I'm not mistaken. I think, if I'm not mistaken, they've translated it to where this boss is actually weak to charge damage, so it's going to do extra damage. So if we go back over here and watch for a second, just watch how much this bronze card does to him. So you can see he's got 582,000 HP. And then he uses an attack buff, which is honestly going to help out a lot, but a level 3 attack buff from Helbram, and then you can see he should use the skill right here. Well, they actually use an Estarossa card first, but we'll skip forward a little bit so they can actually start using it. So he buffs up with attack, and then Estarossa hits for a measly 135, and then Zaratras hits for 459,000 damage. And then to make it even better, he goes on to use his ult in the next phase, and you can see how much he ends up doing with his ultimate right here. Is, I think it's 600,000 damage right here, 800,018 damage. So honestly, Zaratras is going to be an absolute beast for this fight. A lot of people have been using Estarossa, who is honestly pretty good. I know Seaton in his newest video and everything like that, when he was messing around with the demon, the new boss and everything like that, he ended up soloing it on extreme, using Estarossa to sort of counter against him and everything like that, which honestly, it worked out pretty well. But I don't think that the counter is maybe reliable enough, honestly. He was doing solo runs, so obviously if you're running it with people and everything like that, you should have a lot better of a time with it. Honestly, as soon as these bosses end up getting added to the game, everybody thinks that they're the hardest thing in the world, but because they're on the JP and Korean side of the games first, it's really hard for them to know exactly what's going on, because it takes a lot of translating and just all of this stuff to figure out what the boss actually does. So this is huge, honestly. Zaratras is a big huge benefit to running this fight. So that's really good. Esteros is also really good if you didn't already know that. He's good for pretty much all kinds of PvE stuff. A lot of people have been using the green, like the old green Jericho, which I think is fantastic. I think this boss fight is just sort of geared towards using older, sort of like off meta units, which I think is fantastic because it gives those units a lot more usage. So that's pretty much it. I just wanted to kind of go over that. If you want to, I've already level 80'd my Zaratras. I level 80'd him a long time ago because I thought he was really interesting to use in certain sort of PvE like scenarios and everything like that. But I'm probably going to end up super awakening him at some point because I think he's going to be very, very helpful for that fight. And I'm sure we'll end up going over him and everything like that whenever we get it on global. So yeah, I guess stay tuned for that if you really want to. But it's probably going to be like maybe a month or two before we get it on our side. So yeah, just a little bit of prep. If you've got some extra coins or just extra materials in general, throw them at Zaratras. You're probably going to use it later if you have Zaratras anyway. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks so much for watching. Feel free to subscribe for more content in the future, and I will see you guys in the next video. See you then.